Hi everyone, welcome to Life of a Single Mom with Brittany.
And Lucretia,
How you guys doing this morning? My voice is a little bit hoarse from yelling at these kids this past week, so
uh-oh.
forgive me for that. But that's the life of a single mom, right? A mom, period.
Yeah, definitely.
So we did get a chance to upload our first video. We got some positive feedback. This is gonna be the second
Yeah, thank you
episode.
guys.
Yeah, woohoo! So we got our second episode going, and today we're gonna talk about. I just want to give you guys a little back history. Kind of before I became a teenage mother at 15. I want to talk about the subject of growing up without a father and being promiscuous at a young age and stuff like that. So just a little bit about my backstory. I am the oldest of six children on my mom's side, and I'm somewhere in the middle on my dad's side. But I have one more sister on my mom's side, and the rest of my siblings were brothers. We grew up really poor. My mom was addicted to drugs my whole life. Um, I can't ever remember her working. She had Section 8. We lived off of food stamps, and my mom, because she was so addicted to drugs, she wasn't very loving. She didn't do things with us. She didn't take us anywhere. uh, I Me and my brother that's right under me, we kind of took on the role of like looking out for our younger siblings. My mom and my stepdad would be at home, you know like laid up from a binge they had for days, and we'd have to go out and steal food to feed the family and different things like that. Um this this was kind of the way life was for us. And even though my mom had Section 8 around the age of like 10, she lost the Section 8. I don't know how that happened, but we ended up living in a motel for about a year. This was about, I probably say I was about 12. In between this time, my mom had a friend named, I'll just call her Cindy. And I went to go stay up with her up in my hobby. So I was kind of back and forth between my mom's house and there. This is around the time I kind of met my oldest kid's dad. I was 13 and I think he was 19 at the time. I actually met him walking into a grocery store with his, at the time, girlfriend, who was a few years older than him. Um, so that was my first interaction with him while I was up in Mojave. That's how I kind of ended up getting back in contact with him. And when I came back down, uh, we got together. I don't think at that time I realized, how inappropriate the relationship was, being that he was going on 20 and I was 14. Um, I think it was just nice to have somebody really into you, especially a grown man. And I think that's kind of what I took it as. During that time, between 13 and 14 is when I lost my virginity. And I remember, if I don't remember anything else, I remember my mom told me not to have sex and to wait until I was grown. And the thing that I understand now is that she never explained to me, why not to. It's just telling you not to do it. It kind of make you want to find
Hmm.
out why it's not, you're not supposed to do it. And that's something that, I worked on with my daughter, telling her, the stuff that could happen, why she shouldn't be doing it. And so around that time, I think because of all the stuff that was going on at home, I was running away a lot, and I would stay with my oldest kid's dad while I would be running away. And that's kind of how I ended up pregnant. Before I got with uh, my oldest kid's dad, I lost my virginity at 13. I think before I turned 14, I probably had seven sexual partners already. And that's just within a span of a year. I didn't know. what sex was at that time. I didn't know anything like what it meant to come. I didn't know any of that. I was just doing it because I thought that's what was expected of me from the older men. And I know the reason why I ended up losing my virginity, and this is what the young girls need to know. It's what I told my daughter. You think that it's something so important, and it usually only lasts no more than 60 seconds for your first time,
And
especially
after you do it, it don't feel good.
it doesn't feel you don't experience it's not good the
It's
first time.
nothing special.
It's nothing special, and immediately after 90% of the time you're gonna regret it. Cause I
Mhm.
did. And
And I
most of the
did.
time you did too. Good.
Yeah.
And most of the time in my experience, right after the guy gets what he wants, like that's it. Like that's basically what they was out for. And so when I met my oldest two kids' dad, he was different than that. He was really into me, wanted to be in a relationship with me. And at that time I thought, that was something good, like to be proud about. Well, my my mom ended up finding out I was pregnant. I had to tell her. And just a little backstory, you guys know me and Creasha are related on our dad's side. And this is around
Mhm.
the time that I actually met my dad, uh, between like the age of 14 and around the time I got pregnant. So this was within a couple of months of us meeting that I got pregnant. And my mom asked my if I could go live with him and his wife in LA. So um that's what happened. I ended up going out there for a few months in the beginning of my pregnancy and lived with my father and my stepmother at the time. And we have two younger siblings, though they also stayed there. I remember one particular time that my kid's dad came out to visit me, him and his sister. And I'll never forget my stepmother like not wanting us to hug and be alone. And I was so upset because I'm just like, how you gonna try to keep me away from my kid's dad? The damage is done. But now that I look back on it, she was just doing what was right. I couldn't even imagine seeing my daughter hugged up with a grown man and just being okay with that. Even though I wasn't her daughter, I understand her point of view at that time. And I can respect that.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of just want to bring up the fact again about the promiscuity, before I got pregnant. I think, girls, that's why it's so important that they have their father. I think that's our first, love affair, so to speak. That's the first man that teaches us what to be expected from a man. And when you don't have that, you're searching for that. You, even though you don't know what you should be expecting, you just searching for some kind of attention or love from a man. And I think older men, they know how to prey on that. And, looking back, there had to be something wrong with my kid's dad. What would attract you to a child? And that's what
Yeah.
I think about now. There should be nothing about a child that interests a grown man. And there lies the deficiency in whatever's going on in his head and his world. And I remember this one in particular meeting, first time I ever met my kid's grandmother. Remember, I was 14 and her son was 19, almost 20. I was so
Mhm.
excited to meet her because I wanted her to like me. I really loved her son at the time. And first thing she said to me was, "Don't you think you a little young for my son? Not, don't you think that my son is a little old for you? Like, don't you
Right. She
think that
putting the
there's a
blame
problem?"
on you.
Exactly. And it's just like your grown son. I think that had a lot to do with her not wanting to face the fact that she did something wrong for her son to be interested
Mhm.
in children. You know what
Because
I
it
mean?
will reflect on her mothering skills.
Exactly. And so now that I look back on it, I think that's the real reason why she never really took to me. She never liked me. And, during the time I was dating her son, she, came in between me and his sister's relationship. a lot. And, that's the reason why I believe that we're not cool to this day. Like, I don't have a relationship with them. I don't desire to. So that's just a
Mm.
little bit about my background without saying too much. During that time, I did a lot of um, drinking and passing out, partying, inappropriate things like me and my friend, I think, danced in our underwear on a video. I remember this grown man tried to blackmail us with that because I wouldn't go out with him anymore. Like, I had moved on to my kid's dad, and he tried to blackmail me with that video. I wasn't naked or anything, but it was just a fact. Like, you were mad because a child won't go out with you no more. You're gonna blackmail her.
Right.
So yeah,
That's a lot.
and then I told you guys I had my second child when I was 17. Their father actually had ended up going to prison because of something he got into with his brothers. So he actually went to jail a couple months before I had my son, my second son, and he was in prison for almost 10 years, 9 years, and something. So he met his second son through a glass window in jail, and at the time, I used one of my friend's IDs to go see him because I was a minor. And so I got into the
Mhm.
county jail. I got into
Wow.
the county jail with a fake ID to go see my grown pedophile type child's father. And the police let me in. And to this day, it still shocks me. But yeah, so that's just a little bit about my back history. Um, Creasha, you want to share a little bit about yours?
All right. So I didn't have a teen pregnancy, but I had a early teenager pregnancy. So I was 19, turning 20 when I had my first son. Was very excited, but before that relationship started, I had me a little boyfriend, that I grew up with, but he kept going in and out of jail, so I just left that alone. And then I met my first son, father, and we hit it off. I was so in love with that guy. Even though he wasn't good for my soul, he felt good to me. So I just rolled with it. And I went through some ups and downs with that, got in some trouble, sold some drugs, you know, got into some street things, which I'll get into later. But he got killed by the police after my son turned about 16 months. We were already separated because we decided that this life wasn't for me when I first had my son, and he still wanted to be in the streets. So the feeling was mutual. I moved to Vegas with my sister, and
Wasn't this like a few months after? Well, this was after dad died, right? Like,
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah,
too
yeah,
long.
yeah.
So
After
y'all keep
Dad
in mind
died,
that this was happening around the same time that our dad died.
yeah, our dad died, and then I just said LA wasn't for me no more, so I just moved to Vegas with my sister, and then that's when I met
First place,
my
I called my sister,
second
like,
baby
come on
daddy.
out here.
Yep, and we was doing a thing, Then I met that second baby daddy. Who, Lord Jesus, that one.
Tell them how we met him.
We met
Tell them the
him.
story about how we met. The
We
first
met
thing he
this
said,
guy, and he was
red
just like
flag.
I still whoop itches off the corner, But we gonna get into that a lot later. Um, that one is something. We gonna leave it at that because I got a juicy story for y'all down the line. But either way, I was young with two kids and I had to make it happen. Really didn't have no guidance. I don't really have a big family. Not really super close with my mom. My dad had passed away. So we just got it how we lived. We just did what we did, and we was young and crazy because we didn't
Yeah.
even think about bills, rent. We just wanted to have fun at that time. We didn't know anything about being adults or nothing. Like just really
Keep
young,
in mind
stupid.
also that this was around I was 18, she was probably going on 21. So we don't want y'all to think that it's cool to party into your 20s, because that's not what we did.
Yeah. That's definitely not. We worked, we had jobs, we
Yeah.
had to get out there and hit the pavement for these kids.
Mhm.
And I'm talking about living in Vegas, being broke, y'all, in this heat is crazy to
It
start
is.
out, but we did it. I remember we had this gas scheme. I remember we
Yeah.
had this
Tell them
gas
about
scheme,
the
and first
gas.
of all, I didn't even have a car. My sister had a car, and we used to go
My
to the gas
first
station
car too.
we used to go to the gas station like every day and like ask for help with gas, and we would get more money than we needed. Like
We
seriously,
would tell people that we ran out of gas. We didn't really
Yeah,
run out of gas. We would have gas. Sometimes we'd be on E and we'd pull up, but we would tell them we didn't have gas. They see us with the kids in the car,
yeah.
and give us, fill up our tank or give us cash, and that's how we would survive for the week. Whatever we needed for the
Exactly. I
kids.
mean, we couldn't find jobs at that point, and then we had a gang of kids, no daycare. You know, we tried to help each other as much as we could, but we really didn't have nobody to depend on but each other. You know, so we went through those phases, and it was hard, but we got through them. You know.
We did. And
Yeah.
I look back at that, and I was asking I have twins. I was asking one of my 17-year-olds a couple weeks ago when we was driving, because um we passed this gas station, and I was asking him, like, do you remember when you were younger that I used to come up here sometimes? Like, and
Wow.
he was like, no, and that's good. Like, because that's one
Yeah.
thing that we never did. We never let our kids get out. We never used our kids for sympathy. We got out, we asked, and unless they came to the car to try to investigate when we were asking, they wouldn't even know
Yeah.
our kids were in the car. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. But I got something to say to like all the single women out there. Like, I just want to talk a little bit about self-love because now that I'm a mom, I realize that it's so important to build your kids up from home with
yeah,
self-love because it's so much happening in this world and even now it's getting worse. And a lot of us don't teach our kids how to love themselves. That
yeah,
sets the bar for how other people treat you. And we never have limitations and boundaries because we're not taught to have those, you
yeah.
know? So that's something that we really need to express to our kids, like self love, self worth, building yourself up, knowing that you can do things, you know? Like I hear a lot of young folks today talk about what they can and can't do. You know, you should never encourage the I can't because until you tried it, you don't never know what you can do.
Yeah.
Unless you tried it and you failed, you never know what you can do. So let's just really, really, really help our kids and encourage that self love and self worth because they need to know that you believe in them. Because if mama and daddy don't believe in them, they ain't gonna believe nobody else to believe in them, you know? So we have to redirect that negative energy and always think positive. And that's something I didn't get growing up, you know, but I tell my kids that daily because they need that.
And I want to kind of piggyback off that, because I remember, you guys know I was in Vegas with Creasha last week, and this was kind of something that she was talking to me about. Um, in all transparency, I'm not the best at this. You know, on a normal day, yeah, I pour into my kids, and I'm always telling them, how cute they are, how much I love them, and you can do anything you put your mind to. But it's in those times that I'm frustrated, when I'm going through, you know, them running away, or, you know,
The day to day
cursing me.
stuff.
Yeah, it's when I'm in the middle of that I find it hard to, remain calm and remember that, words hurt, and, you can't
It's
take
something
some
you
stuff.
have to practice.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying, that you was talking to me about this last week when I was out there, and I was, I'm real stubborn, so I know she gets frustrated with me sometimes, because she probably be like, you can't tell this girl nothing. Like, but
I don't even think like that. I just see myself in you, you know. I remember, and you know, I was a
Yeah.
mess when you met me too. I was a hothead, you know. So I
You
just
think I
know
always feel
that,
the maturity in you, I
yeah,
can see it.
yes. I
Yeah.
just have to be patient with you because someone was patient with me, and it makes no sense for me to judge you for what you doing, and I've been through it too. You know, I had to learn how to control my anger, control my mouth, calm down, because you know I was on edge with
Yeah.
everything. So it takes time and it takes a lot of growth. But when you going through a lot of stuff, like you said, when you in the thick of it, it's not that easy to
Yeah.
snap back.
And
Cause
then
I
it's not,
still make mistakes.
I just want to be, I'm trying to be more mindful this week. I made it up in my mind, like, I'm going to be more mindful when I say stuff. And I have been. And that's, I'm proud of myself for the last few days. You know what I mean? Since I've been back, I have been like, I'll correct
Yeah,
myself. And I even told my kids, like, I'm about to stop cursing. And because I'm too intelligent. I know too many words to be just using that all the time. I'm going to try to,
right.
replace it. And not only that, like, I know for one of my children, my daughter mainly, she's always like, okay, mom, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. I promise I'm going to try. And I'm always like, girl, please, you always say that. I'm so tired of hearing this. And that's what I was trying to say. Like, sometimes I forget that I'm speaking it into existence. And I
Yeah,
remember my auntie used to say that to me all the time. She'd be like, you got to watch
yeah.
what
The
you
tongue is
say.
powerful.
Yeah. And I'm starting to think like, I gotta stay, even though I feel that at the time, I
Hmm.
was praying to God last night to be able to bind my tongue for the stuff that I say sometimes. Cause sometimes
Yes.
I just pop and I
You gotta
don't,
ask him to keep you quiet sometimes.
yeah, I gotta learn how
Yeah.
to, that's one of my things that I'm working on, like to bind my mouth. Cause I have a wicked tongue, especially when I'm upset.
Hmm.
And so I just want
But the
to,
thing about it is you have the want to change it now. So
yeah.
he's gonna help you through it because you recognize it now and you want to change it. So that'll
Yeah,
work
it's the
out for you.
reflection. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was saying. Like when you start reflecting, you start to like see. Even I remember I used to text my oldest son and apologize for something I said, and he'll be like, "Oh, it's all good," and I'm just like, "I know that, but I'm trying to be better, so I want to be accountable for what I'm doing." But yeah. So I just what Creasha said to make sure you pouring positivity into them because that do have a negative impact on them. Like maybe, that's probably why she doesn't try harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's
Sometimes
probably the
us as parents, we don't listen to our kids, and it's because we think we're grown and we know everything because we the
hmm
parent and they learning. But sometimes you can learn from your kids, you know,
yeah,
and it ain't just
exactly.
like, oh, a math problem or a book to read or nothing
Yeah.
like that. Not even intellectual, you know, it got to be something that you might need help with that they up to date on and they know, you know, or just something they done seen and you didn't even get the memo. It just depends on what it is, you know, but
Like
you gotta
this little
listen to your kids
podcast equipment
sometimes
that we
so you
had to
can
have our
know.
kids set up.
Exactly, exactly. We ain't know nothing about the podcast
Mhm.
stuff, but yet they could come in here and just whip it up for us, you know, that type of stuff. We got to
Yes.
start integrating things that they like into our lives, not just doing it because it's a learned behavior. I'm their
hmm
parent. I'm supposed to drop them off. Like I see too many of my kids' friends congratulating him on, you know, well, both of my older kids play sports, and I've seen their friends several times, you know, congratulate me as a mom of stepping up to go to their games and stuff, and like, hey, my mom ain't been to a single game, and that's just like, what? How your kid playing in
Yes.
high school and you ain't been to one
Yes.
single game? Like you never that busy. I'm busy. I'm a single mom. I work a full time job and got four kids, and I have one in college, high school, and a set of twins that are in elementary. So if I make time, how these two parent homes can't make time to do stuff for their kids? It's because people do what they want to do, and you got to make your kids your priority.
The
Because
kids gotta be
we
that
only
that
know them 18 years.
hmm they have to come first, and that's
Yeah.
that's one thing that I can always look back and pride myself on. Being a teenage mom, I taught myself everything I know, and I
Mhm.
learned as I went. So
Yeah.
it's hard for a child. to learn how to raise another child when you don't even
Mhm.
know how to take care of yourself at that time.
Right.
Let's be honest, at 14,
That just lets you know that God gave you some strength down up
yeah,
in you.
that's what I was gonna say. Like, I've always had this strength in me that no matter what, and my sister knows, I've went through some stuff over these years, some stuff that most people would just, fall and crumble. But for some reason, God won't let me, and he been keeping me. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm focusing on right now, and just trying to be better
It's
and
called growth. You know, she growing up, and everybody have a stage of growth when you put them childish things away and you just become a different person. You know, you respond to things differently and you see things clearly and not like a child. Because, man, life will take you through some things.
hmm
Life will take you through some things. But thank God for the good people we have met along the way because not everybody on this struggling path has been bad for me. You know, I've met a lot of good people on this road.
I have to. Um, I hear a lot of people saying that s- people come into your life for seasons. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Everybody's there for
Lesson or
different.
blessing.
Yeah, everybody's there for a different thing. You may need to learn something for somebody. You may need to. That may
Teach
be somebody that
somebody.
end up being in your life for good, or just somebody that you need to be in your life for the time being. And so I also wanted to touch on, because I know lately, like I've been telling my sister, like, trying to find yourself as a mother. For me, because I've been a mother since I was 14, I'm 37 now. Um, I don't know like who Brittany is. I know who I am as a mother. I know who I was as a wife. I don't know who Brittany is, what Brittany likes, what Brittany wants, what I need. Uh,
Hmm.
because I've always had to focus on what these other six people that depend on me need and want and have to have. And like Creasha
By the time
mentioned,
you get to yourself, you
yeah,
be drained.
you be drained because from work, remember we worked our kids' whole life. It's from work,
Hmm.
you picking up the kids, you gotta cook, you gotta do homework if they have homework, you
Well,
gotta
sports.
clean, you got sports. And my son played football all through high school, so I was at all the games too.
Hmm.
And
And don't forget all the other stuff, ballet and
yeah,
what's
I
that
had
other stuff,
my daughter
karate.
did ballet twice. She did tap, jazz. My twins did soccer. They did karate. So we've been pretty active, with the kids.
My son do volleyball, traveling volleyball. The other one do football in a away state college. You know, so we be on the move. There's things to do.
And I think we've been really blessed to be able to do that, because I know
Yes,
it's
because we
times
don't
we
have
can't
any of
find
that.
money. We can't find money to buy a bra, let alone
Right.
find money to pay for our kids' extracurricular activities. But I think that speaks to what a mom is willing to do
Mhm.
to, because we've had to do stuff that we're not proud of to pay for stuff, to
Yeah.
have Christmas for the kids, stuff that
Yeah.
they don't know about, that they'll never know about.
Well, my
Thankfully.
kids know about.
Well, yeah, but yeah, it's just, I don't think kids, especially kids being born in these days, understand like just how much their parents go through and what
Yeah, and
all we
how hard it
sacrifice.
is.
Yeah. And because they don't have the weight of the world, we got the weight of the world on us, not just being
Hmm.
mothers, but being black mothers in America.
Yeah.
And
Where people look down on you. I was just telling my sister about how society is so judgmental. Everybody want to judge a book by its cover and not really take the time to offer any help or any graceful words or any helping hands or any of that. Like you can be with your friends. And somebody asks you to watch their kids and they might got 5 kids, but it's an emergency. You got 3 or 4. You go to the grocery store with all those kids because you ain't got nobody to watch them. You going to get breakfast to feed them. In walks you in the grocery store and everybody wants to have an eye on you, talking about
Mhm.
how you came in with 7, 8 kids and you need to stop having them babies and all the grimy stuff that people could say to you. And they don't even realize you just lending a hand to your friend or your sister and they just want to judge you because they see you with a 1,000,000 kids. Like, it's crazy. People need
Not
to
only that,
stop
I remember.
judging and start helping.
I remember when I used to go shopping when my kids were little, and you know when your kids are causing a scene in a store and
Mhm.
they'll make a scene and you uh you sneak a little pop or something in the basket.
Uh-huh.
I remember like the thing that irks me with people is when you in a store and your child is making a scene, they staring. Like, what's she gonna do about that? Handle your child. But then when you handle it, you still gotta deal with that backlash of people thinking, well, wow, she hit her child, or what she
Mhm.
do to that baby? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and into today's society, I feel like child abuse is always taken out of context.
Well,
But
nowadays they made it so cool with the kids. The kids will tell you that in a joke. Like, when did we play
that's
with
what
our
I'm
parents
saying.
talking about I'll call CPS on you? Like, I will wear your little butt out. You better go up in that room and learn some respect. We not doing that.
That's what I was trying to touch on, that
Mhm.
they it's so taken out of context now. Like, I'll never forget that my one of my sons told me that because I didn't give him bottled water, that was child abuse.
Wow.
Now that I'm
This
gonna
new
give
generational world has brainwashed our kids to be so entitled.
not only that, I think for me, then this is what I always say. I'm always trying to be accountable for what I've done. So I'll tell everybody, and I always tell my sister and friends and family, like, I'm accountable for, why my kids are so entitled. Because as a single mom, especially growing up the way I did, you try to do better than your parents, you try to give your kids more than you had.
Mhm.
And most of the time, they didn't even earn it. I just gave it to them. Not only that, because they grew up without their fathers, I tried to overcompensate for that too. And so that also added, and it wasn't until a couple years ago that I realized that my younger kids didn't even really say thank you. I don't think they were even aware that they didn't. I mean, thank you to me. But I guess they just kind of felt like, it's my mom, I don't have to. But I
Yeah.
noticed that my older two kids were just in the habit of always saying, thank you, mom, thank you, mom. You know what I mean? And then the
Yeah.
younger ones would follow suit with that. So, yeah, it's just the kids today are so different. And with all these laws, like you can't really be a parent in today's society, is what I'm finding out. When you
Yeah.
try to set boundaries for your kids, they find new and extreme ways to get around the boundaries. And not only that, like Creasha said, when your kids are disrespectful or doing stuff they not supposed to, we supposed to be able to get them in check by just a look, or as in our culture, we'll whoop your butt. That's just what it is.
Mhm.
And when you put in a situation to where you can't even discipline your children, I'll just give you guys a little backstory. My kids they have been in and out of foster care for the last couple years due to behavior problems and some other things. Initially, they were taken because um, of being spanked. There was no bruises on them or anything like that. Um they took my kids because they said I wasn't supposed to be spanking them. And that's just what I mean now. I looked at a documentary on, I think it was Gabriel Fernandez on,
Mhm.
and it was the trials of Gabriel Fernandez, and I was looking at the abuse that boy endured, how he went to school with black
Wow.
eyes and bruises, and nobody ever said anything, nobody called, nobody did
Hmm.
anything. And for them to be able to take my kids with no bruises, nobody called on me, nobody
It's
anything.
just terrible. The system is crazy sometimes.
It's just terrible. And once the thing about it is, once they get your kids, even though they returned them a couple months later, I had to take parenting classes and do supervised visitation. It's been a long uh battle, and once they return them, it's hard to stay from out of their radar. They will come out for any and everything. You
Hmm.
will never get rid of these people. And they will tell you, like
Yeah.
I've had them tell me that because you had a case, anytime something happens,
They
we can come
basically
out.
watching you.
Yeah, they watch you. And and with the thing with CPS is, from my own experience, is they don't, it's never like how it is in criminal court or civil court where it's both parties and we got to find who got the most evidence to support their claim. It's not like that. In juvenile delinquency court, it's always the kids' words are bond, and
That's crazy.
they never, it's like in that court you can't even speak for yourself like you can in a regular adjudication hearing. You can't even talk. Everything you need to say comes through your lawyer. So it's quite different. And they don't, they say they investigated, but they go off what the kid says. Even if there's no
Hmm.
calls, they do that, which is why I brought up the fact that they had no grounds to take my kids, and they did anyway. And it's just been a long, I'm gonna get into some of those stories, and once you guys hear, you guys are gonna be like, oh my God, like it's crazy. But I remember the first time they were taken, and that's the thing, when you have multiple kids, they're not put into the same homes. They are, it's very rare that you can find somebody that's willing to house four kids. You know what I mean? Because they're already housing their kids and other kids. So my kids were split up. My baby went to a separate foster home. My daughter went to one, and then my twins luckily got placed together. But the treatment that the kids get in while they're in these group homes is, it's not good at all. Like, my kids had long hair. They didn't wash these kids' hair. They didn't do their hair. They didn't care how they looked on the visits that I went to. The first couple visits, they let my kids wash their hair. They didn't give them a blow dryer to wash. They actually came to the visit with their hair mildewed, like it stunk in the inside. And they buy 'em the bare minimum hygiene products, the little stuff you get from the Dollar Tree,
Hmm.
like White Rain and stuff like that to wash their hair with. And so from that moment, I, took care of my kids the months that they were in there. I bought them clothes and shoes. I had a hairstylist that currently still use. And I was set up to where the group homes could take my kids to the salon because, your kids are a reflection of you. And I didn't want my kids walking around looking like their
Yeah,
mother
for sure
didn't love
not.
them. Yeah, like, and it's kids in there that won't ever be going home. And I remember
Yeah.
staff used to tell my kids a lot, like, you guys are so lucky to still have your parents. She's here with you. She never misses anything. She visits all the time. She supports you. And during all this, I had to do a lot of stuff. I had to do parenting classes. Those take months, couple months. I had to do family therapy, individual therapy, things like that. And all these take months. And I had to do them with multiple kids while working a job. And at this time, I was in school too. So I think during that time, school is the only thing that kept me like afloat because I was crying all the time because I had never been away from my kids. And when you go from it always being you and your
Yeah.
kids to them gone, you don't know what else to do. So I was really a wreck in the beginning, and I think school and work is what kept me like sane. So I will say
Well, at least you
that. But
found something to keep you busy.
yes, I was so busy with school writing papers and stuff that I really didn't have time to dwell on it in between. But yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a little bit of my story dealing with CPS. I'm gonna get more into the stories later.
Well, tell them what next week is gonna be about.
So next week, let's see what we're gonna talk about.
Oh, and next week we are wanting you guys to join online with us so y'all can actually talk to us while we're on the air and you can ask questions and make comments and all of those great things.
I wanna next week, Creasha has the pleasure of picking a topic. Since we are co-hosts, we're going back and forth on topics. So I'll do two, and then she'll pick two. So
Hmm. Next week is Yo Baby Daddy.
okay, so we're
That's the
gonna do.
next week topic. Yo Baby Daddy.
So we'll get a little backstory on her kid's father, and I'll get to go in to mine's a little more. You guys know a little bit about the first one, but uh, also while I'm on here, I also want to use this platform, like I mentioned in the first episode, that while this is for you know single mothers and fathers now, because we got single fathers that want to be a part of the community
Hmm.
too, and we welcome that. We welcome in all parents. You don't have to be single parents, but
We welcome anybody,
yeah,
but this is a platform for single
for
mothers
single
and fathers.
mothers to vent, yeah, and get
Yeah.
advice on. But did you want to say something, Krisha?
Nah, I think we pretty much done for tonight. We just need to really make sure we get y'all to come out next week because we need to be able to address some of these issues together as a community, you know? And you could be anywhere in the world, but we all got to help each other because we out here raising these babies and we never know. Your son might cross my niece path, and my son might pass your daughter path. We don't know, but
And
we all gotta make
also,
sure.
yeah, and we also want to know like what situations are you finding yourself in with your children? Like I know for me right now the big ones are running away, the uh the use of drugs, not the hard stuff, but the legal stuff, but still, they're children and I don't condone that. Um and engaging in drinking and stuff like that, and sexual activity. That's, I think those are the normal like things that teenagers deal with besides the typical laziness and smart mouth disrespectfulness. I
Right.
think with my kids, their disrespect is to like a whole different level because unlike some of y'all kids, my kids will they cursing me out and stuff. Sometimes I joke with my sister and I always tell her like no offense to the Caucasians, but I always feel like I'm living the life of a white mother because this doesn't happen in our culture. Like it doesn't happen to black mothers. Our kids don't talk to us like that, and
Nowadays it's different though, sis.
that's what I'm learning. That's why I wanted. That's why I'm opening the platform for you guys to tell us like what y'all dealing with because I learned in my parenting class that there is a lot of mothers out there that's dealing with these same behaviors. And like I
And
mentioned
nobody
before,
likes to mention it because they don't want to be
because they be
embarrassed
scared.
or
Yes,
yeah, or
exactly.
feel like they're gonna trigger something in the kid or whatever. But
Yeah.
man, you gotta open up some outreaches because this is crazy. The way these kids are disrespectful these days.
Hmm.
Let's talk about that for
It'll
real.
take you out of some, and that's what I was saying earlier. Sometimes it's hard to remain the adult in the situation because some of the stuff they say it'll take you it'll take you back to your 20s. And
Mm.
that's what I was saying. But I wanted to just
Now I know what all them people mean, the older people, when they tell you to put on the full armor of God. That's
yeah.
what that mean, because you gonna go through some things you ain't gonna be able to get through without God. So yeah, these are those times.
And I just want to remind you guys, this is a platform for our single parents, but I just want this to really resonate with our community, our people, and to really, invite y'all into our community and not be scared to tell us, what's going on. We look like y'all are us.
We're not
And
trying to be in your business or nothing like that. It's just a platform to actually let it out. Because when you hold in things and you even don't have nobody to talk to, you let it out on your kids. Because them the only people you be around. Why you think parents be on the edge and they barely want to talk to their friends and stuff, but they yelling and screaming at their kids all day long because they be accustomed to that. Like just doing that because that's all you got to do today. Like you gotta let some of that frustration out and talk to some adults and get some of those things taken care of. Like for real, for real.
and I think as black women, we don't always have the resources to cope with the stuff that we going through. And that's another reason why I wanted to create this platform, because we need a community of us that we can
Yeah,
share value
non-judgmental
together
though. You know,
and share our knowledge and our experience. And
we
um
ain't coming here to share this and talk to Shaquita later about it, or
yeah.
talk to whoever next week and tell them the whole story and talk bad about it. No, we trying to come up with some solutions and make some real adult decisions about changing things.
And I just want to remind, our people to don't be ashamed to be pro black, because when I get into this discussion with people, they tend to say, oh, well, you racist, but it's not racist when the other races do it, because you never hear uh, white people or Hispanics or Chinese people talking bad about their people. It's always our people. And that's what I want to leave y'all with. We got to stop doing that as black people. We got to
Lift each other up.
lift each other up. And if you see something your sister or brother is doing that may not be in such a positive light for our people or our
Tell them
culture,
about it, but in a
tell
respectful
them
way.
exactly. Tell them it's a teachable moment. It's not a criticizable moment. It's a teachable.
And also, if you're not the type of parent that be on your kids in a positive way and you see
Mhm.
somebody else trying to help them in a respectful, positive way to do something that you know is right, don't intervene in
Don't
that and be trying
intervene.
to be the top dog of the
Oh, we was
situation.
just
Because if
talking
you ain't
about
finna
this.
tell them the
Yeah.
right thing to do, be thankful that somebody else had the heart to teach your kid the right thing to do, because kids is out here killing each other doing stuff to teachers, stuff that
And
I mean probably was happening when we was kids, but barely happening. And if it was,
yeah,
it wasn't out like precise like it is now. Like this is crazy.
with
This is
social
crazy.
media and all that. And that,
Yeah.
to touch on what Creasha just said, we were talking about this too, that back in the days, the older people, if they saw Johnny in a town square skateboarding, they would, reprimand Johnny. And I'm gonna tell your
Mhm.
parents on you. Nowadays people be so scared to say stuff to other people kids, because folks is crazy nowadays.
Yep. They want to
And
fight you.
and even, we were talking about this, because even us as moms, like, you don't want people saying certain things to your kids, but that's what we need more of. And that's why I was saying, for our people, we got to start rallying around each other and be pro black, and don't be
Mhm.
unapologetically black. Be that way and be proud to. And we got to stop all this colorism in our race. And I know even with my kids, they're always like, oh, mom, you so light, you look Hispanic. And I'm always like, no, I'm black mixed with more black, black, black. And I've always been very pro black, with my kids growing up. But I'm gonna leave y'all with this, and I'll talk about it more in the next couple episodes. I'm starting to realize a deficiency with my children, and I don't know if you feel this way, Creasha, but because I took them out of the ghetto and tried to raise them in a better environment, I think that had a negative impact on who they are within our culture. I think that because they were raised in the Mormon church where everybody was Caucasian and we were the only black family, because we lived in the nice neighborhoods where there weren't many black kids in our neighborhoods, I think that negatively impacted them. And I think even though I was shouting, black power this and encouraging them, I think that them not being in that environment and amongst they people made them biased. Like I know one of my sons told me that he thought all black people sold drugs and gang banged and he couldn't be more wrong. And I think I did him a disservice by not letting him be immersed with black people to see that.
Now, to piggyback off of what you're saying, I don't think that it caused a negative effect on my kids, but I do see that they are kids, they're black kids, but they don't have street to them. And
Yes.
see, my reason for that though is because again, I was raised like that and I had to fight every day and
Exactly.
just over
Mhm.
stupid stuff, and of course I didn't want to be punked, so I had to
Yeah.
do it. And when my son's father got killed by the police, and of course he was gang banging and doing the wrong stuff, but still, I didn't want that for my kids. So my biggest
Mhm.
thing with raising boys, black sons, was I didn't want no hood dudes and I didn't want no gangbangers, no thugs or nothing like that. So when I moved out here, it was different because we gravitated to a whole different city and it was different than what I was used to. They didn't grow up seeing the ratchet part of me because I got that out of my system by the time I started really raising them to understand things. So that right there made all the difference for my life versus you said that it was kind of hurtful for your
Yeah.
kids. It's crazy
And that's
how
what
you
I'm
do the same thing and the kids can react in different ways, so you never
But
know.
that's what I always say. Like when I'm talking to
Mhm.
our auntie, when I talk to her, and we kind of brainstorming on what to do with my children, I'm always like, me and my sister raised our kids basically the same. We're pretty similar in the way we talk and things like that. The values we have, the way we wanted to raise our children, and it's just to see our children be completely opposite. I know her having her village that she had made a big difference too. But like she
Mhm.
said, the raising her kids in a different environment and the way she did had a positive impact versus mine. And I don't want to say because my kids don't gang bang and they don't do, the stuff that I grew up around. They're not doing the hard drugs and I don't got to worry about them overdosing on fentanyl or nothing like that. But I mean, as far as them not embracing their culture, it's like they're not proud to be black, and that's what I want them to be. Um, and so now that's my goal as far as so that's my new path. I'm trying to go on a path of being a true Pan Africanist and learning more about my culture, and that way I can share because I've had my kids do Black History reports just for the summer, just for the weekend to try to instill as much as I can into them, but it's still not working. But yeah, I just want to remind you guys that that's important as Black people. I know we try so hard and we scrap to get out of the ghetto and make sure that you instill your culture. Make sure that they see black people from all different walks of life. They see the successful ones. They see the ones that,
Mhm.
live in poverty because we all came from that and we all need to be reminded of that. And that way people can know our struggle and respect the struggle. So just remember to be always be proud to be black and try to learn as much as you can and instill it into your kids because it's very important, especially
And remember,
nowadays.
you only got 18 years to mold them kids. Whatever you teach them, that's what they know. And whatever you don't teach them, You giving another person
Hmm.
space to put in their mind.
Oh, and with social media, you don't want to let nobody else influence your children in these days
Hmm.
because it's
You want to
so
get
negative.
everything you got late into them early.
Hmm. And um, I'm gonna leave you guys with our start sending us in your questions or something you may want advice on or stories that you want to
You
share
want us to
because
talk about too.
send them
Topics
to
too.
our email at loasm2024@gmail.com,
Or give
and
them the other one too.
or you can send them to loasm2025@gmail.com. They're both ours. We both have access to both of them. So feel free, and I'm going to set up a number so you guys can call in live, and we're going to start sending out invites to you guys that want to join, while we're on, and you guys can talk while we're on air and be in the live with us. So once we get y'all bear with us, we up and coming. So once we get everything worked
Everything
out,
situated, we'll keep
everything will
y'all posted.
flow. Yeah, everything will flow a little a little better, and we just want to
We'll become as one like family.
oh, I do want to share one last thing before I let y'all go. Let us know what song you're currently listening to that you find that lifts up your spirits when you down. For me right now, it's Andrea Day, Rise Up. I know y'all know that song, but what about you, Creasha?
I listen to all kind of uplifting songs. You know me, I'm a gospel fanatic, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to say "Victory" by Kurt Franklin.
I'm gonna have to say Andrea Day, Rise Up, and Yolanda Adams, In the Midst of It All. I'm always in between those two songs.
Okay. And what about it's another song my sister got me on. I'm gonna get that for next time so we can possibly pay it
What
because
is
it's
it?
called his he got his hands on me.
Who is it by?
Um I forget the man. He's a pastor though.
Yeah, we'll start sharing the songs in the beginning of our episodes each week. So next week we'll share what we listening to that weekend because it might uplift you guys.
Yeah, for
And
sure. Because music is it speaks to
yeah,
my soul when I'm going through it for
that's why I
real.
wanted to say that because I know we find music is a good outlet when you're
Yeah,
going through. And so we're gonna leave you guys with that, and you guys have a great rest of the week. Thanks for
yeah.
joining us with Life of a Single Mom with
I
Brittany.
hope you
And
all had a great, great, great Thanksgiving.
yes, I hope you guys had a great family giving. I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say Thanksgiving too much. You know,
Yeah,
Black
but
Power, Black Power. But yeah. So thanks for joining us for Life of a Single Mom with Brittany
Lucretia,
and you guys have a good rest of the week.
see you soon.